Doug.
And I'm Cathy.
And this is Maggie Mae. Join us as we follow the moon. Right now we're staying in the town of Seaside, Oregon, which is where we're starting at. And we want to bring you along a trip from Tillamook up to Astoria, the northern coast of Oregon. So come along.
Thanks.
And we're starting just south of Tillamook at the Tillamook Air Museum. And this air museum is really kind of unique because of where it is. This is a dirigible, an airship hangar that was used up through the World Wars. This will show you a little bit about how it went up. And this is the little gift shop in the beginning. And this is how they hangared them. They put a row of 3, a row of 3, and a row of 2. So 8 of those dirigibles inside the hangar. This place is massive. One of the things I liked so much about it is it's interactive. So they all have ways that you can interact with the displays. This was a simulator that was actually used in the filming of the movie Sully.
That's pretty cool.
And little kids to big kids, everybody was in these different simulators trying them out. And like I said, the place is massive. It actually has like a railroad train track down through the middle of it. That's what's inside a flight recorder. I'd never seen inside one. This is an old Convair 880. That and the Boeing 707 were the first big commercial jets. And that's how high-tech the cockpit was.
Scary.
It is. And that is an alien airship, I guess.
I like that.
The fourth one from the bottom is the size of the airships that were hangared here. And this is all the equipment that they actually used to create helium.
That's amazing.
It was stored in a 60-foot diameter sphere tank just outside the building. It's no longer there.
Did it float away?
I don't know. Now this is called a baby guppy, and it is a cargo plane. It's got that area in the middle that will slide forward and backward. They've actually got pictures of it with whole airplanes inside it being transported. And you'll see the area there that's the darker color. It's hinged all the way around, and that tail section swings off to the side to load the cargo. Now next up is the Cape Meares Lighthouse. This is also there in Tillamook. And this is a nice little hike. It is mostly uphill. It seems like somehow both directions.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but it's worth it.
It really is. When you get towards the top of the path, there is the lighthouse. They don't have to make him very tall when they set him up on top of a cliff.
That's right.
So not so far to carry the whale oil or whatever they were using to fire the light.
And the views.
Oh, were amazing.
Yeah.
And you could see, as foggy looking as it was that day, why a lighthouse was important.
Mm-hmm.
Now Tillamook is probably most famous for the Tillamook Creamery. You've seen it in the grocery stores coast to coast with ice cream and yogurt and cheeses. And this is a facility that was only built just a few years ago. The line for ice cream was amazing.
And it goes on forever.
But the ice cream was too.
Yeah.
We had 3 flights. Cathy had peaches and cream, mudslide, and hazelnut caramel. And then on my side there was huckleberry, which was the favorite, black cherry, and white chocolate raspberry.
That was the first ice cream flight I'd ever had.
Yeah. A lot of this is kind of set up like what the breweries and
Yeah.
distilleries are throughout the presentation. It's very much like that. This is a little bit of their timeline of when everything happened, and the very last scene here will tell you 2018 is when they built this new visitor center. There's a flight of stairs when you walk in. It's a self-guided tour. It's totally free. You'll get samples of, the day we were there, 3 different cheeses and cheese curds. Fantastic. And this is all the machinery. Now, we were there late in the afternoon. Their shift was already done for the day, so this wasn't being used at the time. I'd love to see it in motion.
Oh.
Especially, there's one piece of equipment they've got. Because this takes everything from the pulling the cheese out to cutting it to this thing, the blue octopus. Tillamook cheese is all shrink wrapped in plastic. That will shrink wrap 120 pieces of cheese a minute, or in a minute, yes, to a second. They've got a food court down there. That was their 4-cheese spicy macaroni and cheese. It was out of this world. Cathy had a chicken sandwich and fries.
That was good too.
And their gift shop is mostly edible. There's t-shirts and things like that, but lots of great things to take home. That's all cheeses in the middle. There's yogurts, you name it, they've got it. And Tillamook road trip is always with a Volkswagen bus, and they've got one in there you can have your picture taken in too. Next, we're going north up to Rockaway Beach. And as you come into Rockaway Beach, you'll find the Big Tree Trailhead. And if it's not self-explanatory enough, you'll find out why it's called the Big Tree Trailhead here in just a moment.
That's right.
But from the parking lot, you've got nice boardwalk all the way through.
That was the whole way, and there was just, I think you could do a wheelchair on there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was nice and wide. A lot of beautiful scenery on the way back. A lot of unusual trees on the way back too. This one you could look all the way through the insides of it there. That one was a stump, but it had more trees coming out of the top of it. This was a walkway with the side rails that went over a wet area, and there is the big tree. That's reported to be the largest cedar tree in the state of Oregon. Said it's between 800 and 1200 years old. And one thing about this particular tree that's very unusual, some of those straight pieces of tree trunk you see going up are actually hemlock. And hemlock attaches itself to cedar trees and grows off of it. There you'll see the 2 different kinds of leaves side by side. Now next up, it's Diamond Beach. Diamond Beach is famous for that rock formation you see out there. One is a solid one, one has an arch through it, but it's a beautiful beach. And you'll see those rocks on postcards and signs and everything in that area. That's their big claim to fame. Just a little ways north, I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I don't know.
I don't either.
But this is at Arch Cape. Beautiful scenic overlook. This is one that caught our eye on our way up the coast in the motorhome, because you come around a curve and that's what you see. The road is completely carved out of the inside of that rock.
And in the motorhome, you're sitting way up high and you can see how far down it is to the beach.
Yeah. But it's really breathtaking driving through there. And the view is just unbelievable. Now just a short way north is Humbug Point, and you'll also at that point see Lion Rock. You can see the lion laying out there in the water, and then right behind him is the point. Again, that's another one of those that you'll see on postcards and everywhere. Now this cannon, the lore behind it is a shipwrecked coming out of the Columbia River and washed ashore here, and that became known as Cannon Beach. And Cannon Beach is, amongst other things, famous for the Elephant Rock.
So beautiful.
The whole Oregon coast is very diverse. Some of it's just sandy beaches, some of it's cliffs, some of it's rocks out in the water. The greens and the ivies and fern, and it just doesn't get old. Now again, another famous one out there is Haystack Rock. This is just a little bit further north in Cannon Beach.
And that thing's big.
Oh, it's massive. We'll get you a different angle on it here.
You can see it, yeah.
It is massive. Now we're going into the next area, which is the Ecola State Park. This is up at the northern edge of Cannon Beach. The Goonies were partially filmed here, and there was also a scene from Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Filmed there. Way out in that little crack of water there, you see that speck. That's the Tillamook Lighthouse. So it was up to Cathy to get that big lens out, but she got us some nice pictures of it sitting out there. That rock actually had the top of it blasted off so it would be flat to build the lighthouse. And before that, it was covered with birds. And when they quit using that lighthouse, the birds came back.
Nature reclaims itself.
That's right. Opposite that point we were at, looking at the lighthouse, this is the beach just south of there. Next up is the town of Seaside, Oregon. Now we actually were staying at Seaside, so we were kind of in the middle of all this. This is where you really start to see a lot of the Lewis and Clark things. Their downtown was really special.
It was sweet.
Pig and Pancake is a big breakfast company up there. They have 6 locations throughout the Oregon coast. That was their original one. And this is the Carousel Mall. And inside the Carousel Mall, it's got a lot of little gifty type shops. A couple of places for coffee and eats. But this is what the Carousel Mall is really known for. And in fact, a lot of times when you'll see Seaside's logo, it has a carousel horse head on it. But the downtown is just really neat. Now over there on that corner, that was a theater, and it's now a public house.
Yeah. I love these old buildings. The architecture is so unique.
Yeah, it's really nice that they've been preserved. Now, like a little beach town, you got to have a little fun, too.
I love these places.
Has bumper cars in there, has miniature golf, Cathy's favorite, the Tilt-A-Whirl.
I think the guy was holding a seat for me.
Also in Seaside, you'll find Painted Rock Beach. And Painted Rock Beach is just that. People have painted rocks in honor of their family, in honor of people that have departed, in honor of their pets. They all have messages or pictures on them, and they've been left there on this section of the beach. Going just north of Seaside, we saw this along the road. And elk are all over this area. There are elk crossing signs.
Well, that's why they're here.
They've got places they can cross, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was 4 males sitting there, all big antler racks on them.
Just hanging out. The traffic goes by.
And again, that was her long lens. We didn't get that close. Now, next up is Fort Stevens State Park. And Fort Stevens is known for a couple of things we'll show you here. But first is the wreck of the Peter Iredale. This was quite a massive ship.
Yeah.
And it ran aground and was left there on the beach. And over the years, the sea has kind of overtaken it. We're back at the stern, the back of the ship. There are pieces of it still attached to the rest of the ship that's under the sand, sticking up out of the sand. The large piece you see at the front there is the bow, the front of the ship.
And what else should you do when you go see one of those? But climb on it.
There you go.
It was pretty impressive.
It really was. Now also at Fort Stevens State Park is Battery Russell. When you walk up to it, you see this little area. And it's really neat how it's left, but then you see the staircase beside it. Curious people will go to the top of the staircase.
That's right.
And this is what they'll find.
Non-curious people will stand at the bottom and say, go check it out and tell me if it's worth it.
Now, at first I thought that was going to be a cistern, and it's not. It was one of two on the top of the battery that are made to make a completely disappearing cannon. It was very unique to this battery. It's actually, I believe, 3 levels that we went through. The roof, the middle, and then a lower level. And it's quite an extensive structure, and it's still in really good condition.
Yeah, it is.
That one, I think, may have been officers' quarters with the fireplace, and right beside it was that. You could see a shower basin.
Yeah.
So, now Lewis and Clark National Historic Park is in Astoria. And Astoria, if you're not familiar with Oregon, is kind of as high up as you go. You go into the Columbia River at that point.
Yeah.
And this was where the Lewis and Clark expedition, right here, is where their canoes came ashore, it's believed.
So beautiful.
That creek goes back, and just a short ways back was where they had built their fort for the winter of 1805 into 1806. And this is what's believed their fort looked like. This is a recreation. But there were sleeping quarters. One entire side was all the 4 bunks like that. Then they went to 2 bunks, I guess, as you ranked higher.
Yeah.
And even a statue of Sacagawea and the baby. As we go on into Astoria, Astoria is a great little town.
It sure is.
We really enjoyed spending some time there. This is along their riverfront. I was about to say oceanfront, but this is along the Columbia River. You'd see the bridge in the background. That's the coastal route to the state of Washington.
That's a major bridge.
You may see more of that in an upcoming video. I like the Hotel Elliott talking about how wonderful their beds are up there. But beautiful old buildings. And that Liberty Theater was just amazing.
Yeah.
The Astoria Column, that's something you have to see. It looks from a distance like a lighthouse. It sets up on the highest point in the town. And it's not a lighthouse, it's just a tribute to Astoria. The outside is wrapped with all of the important names and dates of Astoria. 164 steps to the top. I know because I walked them. But this is the view.
Yeah.
Worth every step. The viewing area up here is square rather than round like you see in a lighthouse. can see there where the Columbia runs out into the
There
Pacific.
was the bridge.
Mhm. The mountains across the way in Washington. And while we were there, we got to see an eagle. Flew in behind these trees, and then you'll see him circle around here and land up in a tree. That was our first eagle sighting.
Yeah, I can't believe it took so long.
I know. I'm going to probably mispronounce it, so I apologize, but Comcomly Memorial, this is actually a replica of the burial canoe that Comcomly was buried at sea in. Another thing that's great to do in Astoria is the Maritime Museum. That anchor is enormous.
Yeah.
This is right beside the Coast Guard base, so that's an active Coast Guard ship over there on the left. But the ships over here on the right, the Columbia, are all available to tour as you tour the museum. That is quite a place. And you can't miss it as you're going through Astoria, because it's not every day you see a pilot boat right out along the road. And we want to leave you with probably one of the most unique and quirky things I've ever seen. This is the Pigeon Steps in Astoria, and check this out. It's like a smooth concrete ramp with molded in concrete treads going across it. Thence the name Pigeon Steps. Now, I guess from as many years as I've spent in warmer climates, I look at that and it's not the easiest thing to go up and down anyhow. But in the winter in Astoria, Oregon, whose great idea was this? But they're famous for it, so there it is. So Cathy, we've come all the way up the Oregon coast as far up as you can. We're at Astoria. The bridge behind us is the bridge that goes over to Washington State. So this kind of wraps up our time in Oregon. What did you think about the Northern Oregon coast?
I loved it. This is awesome.
It is. It's beautiful country. We've really been blown away by how beautiful Oregon is, how friendly the people are. It's been a wonderful place to come, and if you haven't been here before, you owe it to yourself to come. And hopefully
right.
we've given you some good ideas of places to go. So with that, if you've enjoyed the video today, leave us a thumbs up. We sure appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Ring the notification bell. That way you'll know where all of our adventures take us from here.
And thank you for following us as we follow the moon.
Thanks for watching today.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.
Don't forget to follow us on social media too.